W
T L.
It's time! W
T L.
I think we got a show. Oh yeah, we got a show. W
T L.
And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? I'm your host, Andy Class, and joined by
JaBron.
Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back. We're back.
Yes, we are. And man, did you go on a run last week?
Heating up.
We're talking the road to Omaha. We're talking College World Series. And the 4 regionals we talked about, you nailed every single one of them.
Have to. It's my sport.
2 of them were underdogs.
Yeah.
Texas, Indiana State. I even had Iowa. I thought Iowa could. Big Ten has nobody.
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody.
And I just thought that, Iowa was going to run out of gas, and they kind of did.
Yeah.
They had to go extra innings before they had to play that elimination game against Indiana State. Indiana State did get a little lucky, but I just had a feeling at home they had the advantage, which they did.
They did, and they played well, and they deserve it.
Yeah.
So let's start with. Let's go back to the CWS.
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk college baseball.
Super regionals.
The Super Regionals. We're going to talk all the Friday slate, then we'll get on to the Saturday. But let's start with that 11 a.m. Friday game. That is Duke versus Virginia. Virginia, the favorite at minus 185. Duke, the underdog, at plus 155. Good news here for Duke.
Yeah.
They have to travel less than any other road team here in the Super Regional route.
No doubt.
Bad news. Virginia is 34-4 at home.
Yeah, no doubt, Andy. And like you said, in the series prop, Virginia is minus 195 and Duke is at a plus 160 to take down the series. As everybody knows, the Super Regional is a best of 3 series between all of these 2 teams. So this is a rematch of an ACC series that took place in late April when Duke won 2 out of 3 games at Virginia.
And
at that point, however, Virginia was struggling a little bit, in conference play.
Yep, that was in
Duke's
April.
swing came later on that season when both teams appeared to be at their respective peaks. The Cavaliers swept through the home regional, and whereas Duke held off Coastal Carolina at the end, Coastal Carolina I really thought might have made a shot there. So I really think that Duke does pull one of these games out. So I really like Virginia to win the series. I just don't know when they're going to let one of these games up.
Yeah, Duke has a spectacular pitching staff, and it's headlined by James Talon, but he's their closer.
Yeah.
He has an ERA of 1.69, 11 saves on this season, but that doesn't matter if you're going into the 8th, 9th inning and you're down
for sure
by 2 or 3 runs. I like Virginia. I like what they've been able to do the last 3-4 years. They're one of those teams now that you're just kind of expecting to see them in Omaha every so often.
No doubt. And they have the more premium hitters of the 2 teams, Andy.
Yep.
And like you said, they have more depth at pitching, including 4 quality starters. Like you said, Duke does not have that. And they're at home. They got the home field advantage. Like I said, I think they probably lose one of these games just because it's an ACC rival,
right?
Kind of thing. But they will be heading to Omaha. Give me Virginia. I like that one, that minus 195 to take down the 3-game series.
Yeah, I like the Cavaliers as well. And you're talking series. I don't think you can argue much with it.
You cannot.
All righty, let's move on to the 4 p.m. first pitch between TCU and the Sycamores. You were talking about Indiana State at large last week, and boy, did they come to play for you. But I don't know. TCU is on a run right now. Like, all these teams are hot. We get it.
Yeah.
But back in May, the Horned Frogs were 25-21. They weren't even going to make the tournament.
Yeah.
Since that time, they have ripped off 15 of the last 16 wins, including the Big 12 championship over Texas, over Oklahoma State. All those guys ran to this Super Regional, and they outscored their opponents in the regional. I think it was, they put up 44 runs.
Yeah.
They say they scored 20 points in one game.
Exactly,
Their
Andy.
bats are hot. I don't think there's a better 1 through 9 lineup right now swinging the lumber.
Yeah, no, the Horned Frogs are here to play, Andy. And, it's unfortunate circumstances for Indiana State, like we were talking before. They should have hosted this regional.
Yes.
But, there's a conflict with the Special Olympics, like you said, at Indiana State this weekend. So this sets up a real tough road trip to Fort Worth, Texas, because this is the place where you don't want to play the Horned Frogs. TCU has the far better lineup. I just really think Indiana State had a really good season, but their luck is running out, and I am taking these Horned Frogs to take down the series. It's at a -165 right now, and I just think that is a lock because there's no way that Indiana State can come into Big 12 country and take down these guys. It just doesn't make sense to me.
The Horned Frogs have 3 aces up their sleeve right now. Not 1, not 2, but 3. And who a lot of people consider like their third arm is this guy by the name of Lane Miller. Yeah. And he's 7-0 with a 2.77 ERA. And he was arguably their third best pitcher.
No doubt about it.
Give me a break. Also, the Horned Frogs have made the biggest jump as far as overall odds to win the CWS. They were at a 60-1. Now they're sitting at a 12-1. Oh, my goodness, if you could have got in a week ago.
Yeah, exactly, Andy. And like we were saying, we won our money on Indiana State last round. That's how we won money on the Sycamores. The Sycamores gave up, they got lucky last week. They really did. They came out in the 8th inning twice to win games that they were down. They are 4-9 record against top 50 teams. I just don't really see them being able to come into Big 12 country at an away team. When TCU makes their own luck, the Horned Frogs are 10-6 against top 25 teams like Indiana State. I just think they're ready for the moment. Fort Worth is going to. Horned Frogs are heading to Omaha.
I believe so as well. Okay, let's move on to one of your teams. For whatever reasons, you like the Florida Gators. You were up at Mitchell Tech there for a while when that Miller craziness was going on.
No doubt.
And then, okay, so I guess I'll give you that. But much like that Duke-Virginia matchup, where it's a conference matchup here in the Super Regionals, we're seeing that again here.
Yeah.
Florida, South Carolina, Florida, kind of your favorites here. I'm looking at a -139, -160, depending on where you're looking.
Yeah.
A lot of people are thinking Florida on paper might be a runaway favorite here. I'm saying not so fast. South Carolina has the pedigree. I think it throws a little bit of a wrench into it in that they're conference foes. How do you see this one?
Well, this is a very, very scary matchup for the Florida Gators. Obviously, it's number 2 Florida will get number 15 South Carolina. The Gamecocks swept the Gators earlier this season, but did so at home though.
Okay.
The Gamecocks were at home. You're coming into the swamp. I think it's going to be a little bit different ball game. And the Florida Gators are riding high right now, Andy.
They are.
The Super Regional will take place in Gainesville, like I just said, where the Gators are 32-6 at home this season. The Gamecocks went 12-10 on the road, so they could steal a game from the Gators. It's unlikely that they get 2. I got the Florida Gators winning this series, Andy, and that could be a little bit of the fan in me just because I like the Gators, but I at a -140 to take down this series, I just think that's really, really good value to go around to go along with.
There's got to be an upset somewhere. We know there has to be.
There is.
And this might be the one to do it. That +115 with South Carolina, that's not great odds either.
It's not great odds.
On an underdog.
That's what I'm saying. If you're going to go for an underdog, I got a couple other plays that you can get a little bit more value on, and you're not betting against one of the top teams to take down the whole College World Series. Florida's sitting right there at a +700 to win the College World Series. And once they win this series, Andy, they're going to be like at a +300 because they're that good and they're going to be that much of a homer.
Just like I like TCU's 3-man starting rotation, I think South Carolina has a really good 3-man rotation as well. But Florida, they're playing at maybe a little bit different level, and the odds makers are reflecting that. Should we talk about the nightcap?
Yeah, let's do it, Andy.
This might be the most surprising matchup of the Super Regionals. I think without question it is.
Yep.
2 non-traditional teams going at it here in Eugene, Oregon. Oral Roberts, the Golden Eagles. Everybody had them.
Everybody.
Yeah, right. Okay, all right. Taking on the Ducks out there in Eugene, where Oregon is a -145, -140, once again, depending where you're looking.
Yeah.
Favorite here, and I don't know. This is one of those deals where, like Indiana State, I'm like, okay, you had your magic, you had your run. Now you're going to a Pac-12 school in their house. Your luck might be running out.
Yeah, you might be right here, Andy. But
oh, jeez, here we go.
Oral Roberts is sitting at a +125 to take down this series right now, Andy. And I'll give you a couple nuggets why I think it's. They're the story of the NCAA tournament as of now, coming in as the number 4 seed. Golden Eagles will try to keep the Cinderella story going. I really think it could happen. it's clear that this group isn't the typical underdog. Oral Roberts is 49-11 and got underseeded by the selection committee because of their name.
They're out of the Summit League.
You have to.
Yeah, they're out of the Summit.
But due to the weak strength of schedule, in terms of team quality, there's no question the Golden Eagles, they beat Oklahoma State 3 times in the spring and went 3-0 in the regionals. Yep. This team is for real, and I just think if you want to take a feeler on somebody, it's got to be against this Oregon team that I'm not sold on either. So I really like the Golden Eagles. I just don't think there's much of a hometown feel to Eugene. I don't think they're going to pack that stadium. They could, but Oregon State's the real draw in Oregon. I don't think the Ducks have that big a following. Oral Roberts is going to take down this Super Regional, and they are going to the College World Series.
Much like we're talking about Indiana State, rising to the occasion, knocking off some bigger programs. I think it helped Oral Roberts that they had already beaten Oklahoma State.
No doubt.
And they kind of lucked out getting to play them again, a team they already knew that they could beat.
Yeah, it's just about confidence.
Yes, and I think it lined up for them on this one. I'm more impressed with Oregon's run, how they were able to take down Vanderbilt. Yeah. Vanderbilt was the number 3 overall odds.
No doubt.
So I think that was a bigger story, and it would be if it weren't for Oral Roberts.
Yeah, exactly. It's just funny that they matched up against each other.
Yeah. Strength of schedule, 255, Oral Roberts.
It's what it is.
It is what it is. I get it.
But right on this game, Andy, both teams can really hit. Oregon has a bit more power. Whereas Oral Roberts hits a lot more for average, but the visitors have more pitching depth, and that's what I'm going to. It's going to go three games. It's going to go 3 games, and that pitching depth is really going to play a factor in it. Give me Oral Roberts taking down the Ducks in Eugene to go to Omaha.
Oh, boy, that might be one I have to sit out there, JaBron. But you heard the horn. That means we're up against it, but you heard JaBron. He wasn't going all chalk there. He's going to give you a little bit. And, I talked to some folks. They like Oral Roberts as well, so maybe that'll put him over the hump to sprinkle a little coin on him. So I'm going to recognize one of our fabulous partners. That is the Nebraska Brewing Company. We've been enjoying the Pickle Fight. Once again, their pickle brew. We talked about it last week. It's in hot demand. It's sold out in a lot of places, so you really got to kind of search around for it. Try and find a grocery store, liquor store that still has it. It is still available at the brewery. If you are in La Vista, Nebraska, or the greater Omaha metro area, run out there and grab yourself a 6-pack. You won't regret it. That is the Pickle Fight pickle beer.
It is a pickle punch to your throat.
Oh, I like that. Nebraska Brewing Company, world class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
JaBron.
Oh, the parlay powder.
You got it.
And you haven't even given us a parlay yet. We're in segment 2.
Yeah,
you're just holding on.
It's kind of tough when you were talking about college baseball with 3-game series going on. It's tough to throw those in a parlay or whatever. So I might be throwing a parlay later in the show with some UFC and NBA action coming down this weekend.
UFC 289
is
coming your way.
There you
NBA
go.
Finals. Well, here's a game you're not going to give us a parlay or anything on.
Yeah.
That is the 11 o'clock Saturday game on the road to Omaha, and that is the Alabama versus Wake Forest. There is no line on this game. It is off the board, and that is due to many states not allowing wagering on Alabama due to late season investigation on their coach and the irregular betting that was happening on Alabama. And I do want to say, without sports betting, he wouldn't have being legalized. He wouldn't have been caught.
Exactly.
It was picked up right away because he was calling his buddies in Ohio and making these crazy bets. And right away, the different, whether it was DraftKings, FanDuel, or both, or everybody was like, who just dropped $5,000 on a midweek Alabama game? That doesn't happen.
Well, we don't even really have lines for these yet, but okay, we'll take it. Yeah, a little Pete Rose action there.
There you go. So anyhow, we'll still talk about the game.
Yeah.
Wake Forest just cruised through their regional at a plus 41 run differential.
Yeah, 48-7, Andy.
just smashed the 2-seed Maryland Big Ten team. We thought that might be coming.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be that bad. Wake Forest has the best pitching staff. We talked about it last week. Rhett Loader is their ace. He's 14-0 with a 1.66 ERA. And the next two guys, Sean Sullivan, Josh Harville, they're not too far behind.
No.
So, a lot of people like the Crimson Tide heading into this one. There's still a lot to like, obviously, about Alabama, but they're without their coach, and I think they're going up against a juggernaut here in Wake Forest.
Yeah, Andy, can Wake Forest finally end the number one overall seed curse? The Demon Deacons, like you said, rolled through the regionals like only the best team in college baseball
like
could.
they were expected to.
Yeah, Wake Forest also hits for slightly more power and slightly better average than Alabama, but this Crimson Tide team, it's really hard to find any clear weaknesses in their team, Andy. They have the pitching quality for all 27 innings across a 3-game weekend.
Yes, they do.
I really...
Their on-base percentages like tops in the nation.
Exactly. And like their ERA, Wake Forest is absurd at a 2.78, but Alabama is very, very good there with a 3.96. So it's really, really good. And Alabama even has a stronger strength of schedule than Wake Forest, obviously playing in the SEC. So I really believe that Wake has the higher ceiling of players, but the Tide doesn't have any clear weaknesses, and this is going to be a hard out for Wake Forest. I got them in 3. But I do believe Alabama takes them down probably in game 2.
This is what tournament baseball.
It is. These are the best teams. These are the best teams.
You got ACC versus SEC, 2 great teams, pitching staffs, hitting across the board. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it all starts Saturday at 11 a.m.
It's going to be a tough out.
First pitch. I like that. It's going to go 3. But give me the slight edge on the Deacons.
At home. That's what it is.
The Demon Deacons?
The Demon Deacons.
Sounds so nasty there. All right, let's move to another game, and this is kind of an interesting one.
There we are.
You have been high on LSU the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, before it was even set, you're like, give me the Tigers, give me the Tigers, give me the Tigers. I don't care, give me the Tigers.
For sure.
This is a 2 o'clock first pitch. And Kentucky, another one of these SEC matchups here. LSU is the overall favorite. I'm looking at a minus 220, minus 218.
That's what it is.
Kentucky is the underdog here at a plus 175. I mean, I think I know which way you're leaning on this one.
Similar to the Duke-Virginia Super Regional, Andy, this exact series has already took place during the regular season.
Yes, it has.
LSU took 2 out of 3 games from Kentucky at home, which is the same scenario here. Although the Tigers were playing their best baseball of the season at that point, I think they're back up to that point. They are playing their best again.
They are.
LSU is light on pitching right now due to injuries, but the Tigers seem to have rallied a bit on the mound recently after struggling to adjust in May. Kentucky has among the nation's deepest pitching staffs and can hit for average, but not power. So I really think that's where LSU kind of pulls ahead. We saw these games with LSU. They can put 7, 8 runs on you in an inning.
They're
So
smashing.
I really think the LSU probably take this in 3. I am going to give, Kentucky credit enough that they get 1 game against LSU just because of that phenomenal pitching staff. But in Baton Rouge, this place is going to be rocking, Andy.
I read an interesting article on one of those national writers that really follows the SEC, and he says, for one of your value plays, one of the best bets out there right now is Kentucky. It's Kentucky because they can do this. This wouldn't be a shocker if an SEC team beat another SEC team. It's just that, man, they're just running. They might be running into the wrong team. Like if they could have went out to Oregon or something like that, I'd feel a lot better about the Wildcats. I don't feel good about them. Better about them in this spot going up against LSU. And you talked about the injuries. LSU still has the best pitcher out of both these two teams. Paul Skeens, their ace, he's 11-2 with a sub-2 ERA, 1.90.
Wowzers.
So give me that plus the lumber that the Tigers are going to be swinging. I like the Tigers in 3, whatever. I do think they're going to hold home court. And, the Super Regionals in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and you can tell how much a team plays well at home when they got odds like this. LSU is a minus 235 to take down this series against a very, very good Kentucky team. Yeah. A Kentucky team that's only plus 190 to win this series in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell that this is a good matchup, Andy. But, I got to go with the Tigers. There's going to be a lot of purple and yellow in Omaha in the next couple weeks. Like I've been saying, go Tigers.
Saw the LSU flags already waving Memorial Day weekend.
No doubt.
It was crazy. All right, now here's a matchup here.
Yeah.
Tennessee hosting Southern Miss, right, in Hattiesburg. And wait. They're going to Southern Miss. What happened there?
What happened there? Controversy here, Andy, as the NCAA gave Southern Miss the nod as the host team over Tennessee. In classic NCAA fashion, there isn't going to be much transparency here.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here, folks. But we're still going to make Tennessee the minus 141 odds, and I believe they should be.
Exactly.
And especially when you start talking to line odds makers, they're plus 900 to win the whole gosh darn thing.
Yes, they are the fourth team in line right here, Andy. Regardless, Tennessee has found its rhythm and should be heavy favorites. Like we just said, Southern Miss etched past Penn in the Auburn Super Regional after losing its opening game. The Volunteers, meanwhile, went on the road to win in the Clemson Regional, which was much more difficult.
They just,
this is Tennessee in 2. This is Tennessee in 2 on the road. They're winning both games. They're winning. They're pissed off right now, and they're going to be in the College World Series. So if I was looking at anything in Tennessee, I might even look at that team's future to take down the whole tournament while you can now at plus 900.
Right. And on the flip side of that, Southern Miss is one of the bottom two teams at a plus 3,000. So they're tied for like the worst to take down the tournament. I got to agree with you. Everything that you say there, all the articles that I'm reading, all the people I'm talking to from SEC laying down south, they're like, no, Tennessee is the truth. Look out. And then, and maybe sometime down the road, we'll figure out why Southern Miss got toast.
NCAA is going to keep that one on lock.
This
just
regional.
telling you.
That's so ridiculous.
Yep.
All righty, let's move on to the 5 o'clock first pitch between Texas and Stanford. This is going to be a nail biter. I think this one's going 3 games. Love both of these squads, the talent that they both bring, and the tradition, the whole 9 yards. Here we got Stanford, the number overall 8 seed, taking on Texas, and it's basically a coin flip is what we're looking at here. It's a pick 'em.
It really is, Andy. And I'm gonna waver a little bit from my Longhorns. I really think they can get this done.
Yeah.
But if Texas is going to win this regional, Andy, it really needs to get the job done in the first 2 games.
You think so?
Lucas Gordon and LeBaron Johnson Jr. are 2 high-quality starting pitchers for Texas, but it really, really drops off after these 2. These guys have been their, ball and chain the entire season. These guys are probably 2 of the best pitchers in college baseball. Stanford doesn't feature great starting pitching either, but it has a better lineup and home field advantage.
I would use the word great to talk about Stanford, where I'm talking about their hitters, their starters, their pitchers, whatever.
Yes.
But you hit the nail on the head here when you're talking about Johnson Jr. and Gordon. Both these guys have ERAs under 3, 2.62 for Johnson Jr. He hosts a 8-3 record. I mean, that's squaring off against a lot of Big 12 teams, really good Big 12 teams.
For sure.
Lucas Gordon, 7-1 overall with a 2.45 ERA. I think that right there makes the case for me to really like Texas to win this series out there at the farm, on the farm, however they say it, in Stanford. I like the Longhorns. Last year, we were high on the Longhorns due to their bats.
Yeah.
They went cold.
They did go cold.
They went cold. This year, they have the pitching where it matters the most. 2 dominant starters. And how do you win series? How do you win 3-game series? With 2 really good starters. And I
see it all the time.
I think the Longhorns have just enough here. I'm not a Longhorns fan. Never have been.
No.
But when it comes to baseball, tip your cap to them. They get it done.
Just a little nugget here, Andy. All of the Cardinals' top relievers own ERAs of 4.64 or higher.
There you go.
Yikes.
There you go.
If this gets into late, the Stanford Cardinal does not have pitching to go along with Texas. Stanford slugged its way to the regional win over Texas A&M, but the Aggies have almost no pitching themselves. Game 3 could go either way here, but I believe Texas gets it done sooner rather than later. Give me Texas in 2.
And you heard the horn there, so we're up against it. I'm going to agree with you, JaBron, getting Texas into the sweep on the road. And when it gets down to super regionals like this, the nitty gritty, I'm looking at that pitching staff. I'm looking at starters.
You have to.
And they're playing with that urgency. They know.
They know.
Got to win these first two
games.
Do. Otherwise, it's all over. It might be anyway, just because you're on the road in a Game 3 situation like that.
No doubt.
All right, let's take a quick minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Stock and Rod Company, an outdoor lifestyle brand for those seeking adventure. Whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, they got you covered. Visit stockandrod.com to get your wild game on. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Ian D. Class, and joined by
JaBron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it.
All righty, we got to talk NBA Finals.
You
now.
have to. Game 4.
Game 4 is coming up here. Game 3, exciting game, but I think it played out like we kind of thought it would.
No doubt.
Even though Miami's was on that wild streak of winning games 3 throughout these NBA playoff series.
Yeah.
I just felt, and I think you did too, the Denver Nuggets is a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
They got more maturity than the Boston Celtics. They got way better talent than like the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
And also Miami don't have their heat up against, their backs not up against the wall like in previous series. So it's just a completely different animal. And the Nuggets took care of business, easily covered 109-94. And that line was moving up. It opened up at 2.5, got to 3.5, their tip-off. It didn't matter. The Nuggets were good. They were golden. And, of course, Jokic with another triple-double in Game 3.
Yeah, the triple-double, Andy. 32 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists.
21 rebounds.
That's crazy. 18 defensive rebounds, just taking care of Bam on the other side. Bam had 17 rebounds as well.
Yeah.
No slouch or whatever, but when Joker is putting up these kind of things, it's very hard to beat Denver. And what the real factor for me, watching this Denver Nuggets team all the way throughout the playoffs, is quarter 3, Andy. They come out in quarter 3 and really put their foot on the neck of their opponents, outscoring them 29-20 with a 5-point lead going into halftime. So they really come out in the third quarter, put their their foot on the neck of the guy and really get that lead. So, they still work in the fourth quarter, but they have that cushion, which, they kind of needed against the Miami Heat because the Miami Heat are a fourth quarter team. They hang around, and then just hang on to Jimmy to make plays at the end of games. So it really does work for them. And but Denver was just too much early in this game in the third quarter. Yeah,
and Butler had another fine game, 28 points. You come to expect that. That's just crazy. For me, the biggest difference was Murray stepped up his game. He had 18 points in Game 2. Not bad, but you just expect a little more.
No,
expect a little more. 34. Woo! Poured it in here on Game 3 Wednesday night. And like we said, Nuggets just took care of business. So should we move on to Game 4?
Yeah,
Some
let's
predictions.
talk about Game 4.
We're talking, that is Friday night, 7:30 tip-off on ABC.
Yep.
Back in Miami, right?
Yep,
We're back in Miami, but it didn't matter. The line opened up at 3, quickly moved to 3.5. The Denver Nuggets are the road favorites once again in the NBA Finals, and you don't see this very often.
Yeah.
A team that's back-to-back favorites on the road in the Finals.
Yeah,
what's going on here?
Well, it's just that they have the two major playmakers in Jokic and Jamal Murray, and they're playing the best basketball they've ever played, Andy. And it's just everything that we just said. It would be absurd for Miami to be favored in this game, even though I think they have a very, very good chance of winning this game.
Well, of course they do.
That you can't favor them because everybody would just pour money on the Denver Nuggets just because they have Joker and Jamal playing at such a high level right now. So I believe that 3.5, it probably won't get much more than this, but I think it could get up to 4. Anywhere from 3 to 4 is where it's going to end at. But you got to look at this Miami Heat plus 135 right now just because of the value play on it, Andy. They don't like to get down too much more than this. It's in Miami. They know that they have to win. They have to at least split to have a chance in this series.
Yeah, they do. They got to get one at home here. I don't know if they can do it, though.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a money line from MGM at a plus 125. Yours might be a little more updated because, this line is moving, folks. We're talking about the over-under. I got 210.5.
Yep.
You were already seeing 211.
211.5. Yep. Which is something in itself, Andy. These, Denver and Miami kind of hangs their hat on there a little bit of a more of a defensive team or whatever. It was 109-94, like you said, in the over/under on that game. Andy, give me 1 second. I believe was right around this 211 as well. 212.5. So that didn't reach that, Andy. So
Nope.
I think with it at 211.5, I think the under is definitely the play again.
I do too.
Just because these two teams kind of lock up. You saw Miami in the two games that they've lost not being able to reach 95 points. So I believe this is going to be another one of those games.
Yeah.
It's going to be 100-95, one of those kind of games. So the under, I believe, is the best bet to do.
When I said that for game one,
You did.
I thought the under was the best bet, and that hit as well.
No doubt.
And there was a cushion there, too, for hitting that under. And in game two, where Miami won in Denver, tip your cap to them, but so many things went their way.
No doubt.
So many things. All the 50-50 balls. You had 5 points just off the top of your head. You just think of the highlights of the games.
Yeah.
Jimmy stepped out of bounds, throws the pass, cans a three.
Yeah.
You also had, I felt was an obvious goaltending on Bam.
Yeah.
That wasn't called. There's 5 points right there, and they still barely snuck out the win.
They just got him by 3, and that game only went in, that was back and forth like you're saying, and that game only ever got to a 219 total for that's the game that's really raising this because these teams can score this much. But that was a back and forth all the way to the end, Andy. And if I have to guess, teams kind of slough back and forth. And I don't know if Denver's going to do that again. So I my two best bets are that under, and it pains me to say, but I think Miami might be over their head here. So look at that 3.5 for the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, you're like playoff Jimmy. Yeah, okay, playoff Jimmy.
Yeah, playoff Joker.
You can only do so much. And there was also another fascinating stat. When you get into these cybermetrics, and sometimes you can just get lost in those numbers. But Miami played to their 99th percentile in game two. Meaning the way they shot the three-point ball, the way they got all the calls, the 50-50 calls, the 50-50 balls, everything went their way. And as far as their ceiling playing 100%, they played that 99 percentile. I'm like, there is no way that they can replicate that at home, away, whatever. And it didn't happen. And I don't see it happening again either. I don't think you're crazy if you want to go out on a limb and take a plus money bet on Miami. I just think you're putting your money in the wrong place because we've been talking about the Nuggets all season long.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Andy. And if we kind of do want to get into some, some value things that you can do with the NBA Finals right here, you can go to exact result of, 4-1, 4-2, stuff like that. But, Denver Nuggets to win 4 games to 1, which would mean that they take the next two games, is only at a plus 115. That really shows you how the book is really looking at this, thinking that Denver is going to steamroll these guys the next 2 games. So that really makes you scared to put any money on the Miami Heat. Even at 4-2, you're only sitting there at a plus 285. So they really don't think this is going to go 7 games, Andy. So, Denver's probably going to win the next 2 games, and this is going to be a 4-1 thing. Miami's last gasp for air is Friday night, and if they want to do it, Jimmy's going to have a huge point game. So I would look at Jimmy's points, go with the over on that. He'll probably be sitting somewhere at over under 25 to 26 points. I think he gets way up. I think he might even have a 40-point game. So look at points, rebounds, assists for Jimmy Butler. Take that over. Definitely look at the Joker stat line for a triple-double. He's going to do that again. Those are the kind of prop plays that you're going to have to look at going into this 4th game.
Yeah, I really like those props. And you've been saying it the entire NBA playoffs. Like, this is where the stars come out. This is where you can lean on your all-stars, and those props are probably going to hit with the overs.
No doubt.
And they have been hitting for you. And I'll go back. I just want to go back to game 2 once again, where Miami shot all those 3-point shots. I feel like that's their only way to win.
It is.
And they shot it right there, 50 percentile there. And you can't do that, even if you're left wide open. And so Denver, they didn't freak out. They didn't change up their whole defensive philosophy.
Yeah.
They just, once again, forced a bunch of three-point shots here Wednesday night in Game 3. And guess what? The percentages went back to the median, and they were able to cruise to a victory. And I just see more of that happening. Like, Denver doesn't have to go out of their lane here. Yeah. They have superior talent. They got the best player on the court in Jokic, and Jamal Murray is nothing to sneeze at. I think he is going to be known as a superstar after this finals.
He already had the trajectory to do that, Andy, and you saw it in the bubble. He's one of the best players in the bubble a couple years ago.
Got hurt.
Yep. He had the trajectory to be a star in the NBA here. He has arrived. He is here. He's scoring 34 points in playoff NBA Finals games.
Yeah.
So he is here, Andy. Like you said, though, with the Miami Heat, it has to hit correctly for them. Duncan Robinson came out after halftime in Game 2 and just poured in, 12 points. That's not going to happen every time.
Yeah.
It's it's going to be streaky shooting. I hope that they push this more than,
I got to say it.
More than games, but
Miami needs a hero.
They do.
They need
LeBron James.
Oh, you're you're not going to give Tyler a hero at the time of day.
No way.
You're not going to play off the pud.
Yeah, no, I got you.
All right, so you kind of talked about some angles there or anything, and we're still kind of diving into some of these lines here. Anything else that you're kind of looking at heading into Game 4 and then maybe Game 5 back at Denver?
Yeah, no, just the only thing right now for Game 4, Andy, is get that point total as high as you can and bet it, because it's going to go down because these bookies are looking at this and their mouth is drooling that these the Denver Nuggets are going to win these games and thinking that Miami might quit a little bit. So that total is going to keep going down. So as high as you can get it, and stick with it. But I could see this at 208, 207 by the time that this tips off on Friday. So I really believe get that at 211, 211 and a half, 212. You lock it in there because it's going to go low.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you. And I think this is something that folks kind of appreciate about WTL, about our show. I'm not just going to listen to you and then disagree just to disagree for sake. This is Skip Bayless,
Shannon Sharp,
or all the other shows that it kind of feels packaged. No, when we feel there's a strong play here, I'm not going to just spew drama and say like, oh, I like the Heat because blah blah. No, we both like Denver here, and for good reason.
For sure.
You just heard the horn there. That means we're up against it. But let's take a quick minute here to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. What do you got over there, JaBron?
I got the pickle fight. It is a pickle punch to your throat. My new favorite beer for the Nebraska Brewing Company.
It's a good one, especially if you like that pickle flavor. And we've talked about it before. Limited supply, limited quantity here. They just did a kind of a test run, and it sold out quick. Grocery stores, liquor stores were buying it left and right.
Yep.
Sold out in many areas. You got to look out. You got to look for it. And if you find it, lucky you. Pick up a 6-pack, pick up a 12-pack. Nebraska Brewing Company. World class in every glass. Don't go anywhere, folks. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
JaBron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it.
Oh, boy, we talk CWS, College World Series, Road to Omaha.
You got it.
NBA Finals.
Yep.
Hey, no. A little game more action there. And now we got to talk UFC 289, getting back into your wheelhouse. And I understand you have a parlay for us at the end of this.
Everybody's been waiting. It's this segment.
Here we go. Now, this is going to take place Saturday, June 10th, the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Hey, Canada.
Heading back to Canada. This is the 32nd time they've welcomed them to Canada. And this one, a little bit of a curveball. This was set as Amanda Nunes. You're big on her. You're sure. She's a lot of fun. But this was supposed to be Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena 3. Everyone remembers Pena, doing that submission in round 2.
Amanda comes back, beats the crap out of her, and this was supposed to end it all. This was supposed to be the trilogy fight. Right. But as you know, Juliana Pena comes broken ribs.
Yeah, she pulled out of this fight due to broken ribs she might have sustained on May 2nd. I think that happened in training.
For sure.
This kind of got thrown on its head a little bit. Irene Aldana is going to take on Nunes here. And, Aldana was supposed to take on Pennington in an upcoming fight night.
Yeah.
That got scrapped. She stepped up. And we also have a really good undercard here in Oliveira and Delarouche. But let's start a little further down the card here. Danny Inge, one of you guys you're big on, versus Nate Landwehr. Two Americans squaring off here. And you got Inge, the number 13 ranked competitor in the world in the featherweight weight class at a minus 250. Big time favorite here.
Yeah, Danny Inge hopes for a more positive result in favor this weekend after losing 3 straight fights. The 31-year-old Hawaiian got back in the win column with a second-round knockout last time out back in January. That being said, on the other side, Nate Landwehr heads up north of the border with a 3-win fighting streak, Andy.
Okay.
He earned Performance of the Night and a majority win decision. In his last 2 fights. It's not going to be easy for Inge here to string together back-to-back wins. Landwehr is like, a nonstop bullet train, averaging 6.47 significant strikes per minute. Inge is a solid grappler too, but Inge is going to have to put on a really, really
and Landwehr's
good
he's at plus 200 right now. He's a big underdog. So if you do like Landwehr, I mean there's some value there for you. And the way I'm breaking down what you were saying this is more of a coin flip than it is such a heavy favorite on this.
No, exactly, Andy. And like we said, Landwehr has momentum on his side and is motivated to finally crack that top 15 in the featherweight division. If he can keep his distance from Inge, positive results will come. Give me that plus 200 to win outright. I think Landwehr gets it over Danny.
We are starting with an upset rate, 88 out the gate. I will say this about Landwehr, just looking up and down the stat sheet here. His grappling appears to be superior with a much greater takedown accuracy and takedown defense. He also averages way more submissions per minute. Maybe that's just not Inge's game, but that's definitely going to be part of what Landwehr is going to be throwing at him.
Yeah, no doubt, Andy. And I like I said, this should be a coin flip line as it is, but Nate Landwehr has momentum, and that plus 200 is just too juicy for me not to go after it. So give me Nate Landwehr.
Landwehr it is. Should we move on up the card?
Let's do it.
Talked about how this is a co-main event.
Yes.
Charles Oliveira is back. He's not injured. He did have to pull out of that last event. He is back now. That is the number 1 contender in the lightweight division, taking on Beneil Dararouche, the number 4 contender from the United States. And this opened up as basically a coin flip. You're looking at minus 110. But Delarouche has taken a slight edge here. What are you looking at? Minus 120, 140?
Yeah, anywhere from minus 120 to minus 145 is what I'm seeing. Oliveira on the flip side at a plus 155 to win this. As fight week goes on, you could open up a little bit more as more money is pouring in on Delarouche for good reason. Some interesting prop betting lines are available as well. The under 2.5 rounds is at minus 180, which makes sense with Oliveira's style of fighting. Oliveira is to win inside the distance is at a plus 180 only, Andy. And that proves not to be worth the risk if his money line is already at plus 155. So it doesn't make sense to take that extra, risk if you can already get it for plus 155 if you're on DuBronc's Oliveira. I would say just please take time to look through all available lines on this one, Andy, because this could go back in Charles's way if people start throwing money on that plus 155 because not too long ago this was one of the most exciting fighters in all of UFC. This guy could not be touched for 4 or 5 straight title defenses. So everybody is kind of forgetting Charles Oliveira here, but it's with good reason. I believe it's Delarouche's time. I believe he gets his hand raised on Saturday night. It's just his time. He has proven himself for years now, and he might be the only answer to knocking down Islam Makhachev on the championship totem pole. I think he might be the only guy in the division that can beat Islam. So this is his first fight to get to that. So give me Delarouche. I don't. It's gonna be a tough fight. It's gonna be a tough fight, but I believe that he's scrappy enough to get it. and it's going to have to be against Charles Oliveira.
Well, and Oliveira might be running into something here that he doesn't want to see, and that I think grappling's always been a big part of Oliveira's style. Dariush, though, he is phenomenal at grappling, especially when you're talking about his defense maneuvers.
Yeah.
He's at an 80% takedown defense. And if Oliveira, he's not going to be able to club, he's not going to be able to swing like he likes to, or, he's going to have to go to the mat or try to go to the mat he always does, and it's just not going to happen for him here against this young stud, this up-and-comer, as you're saying. And that's probably why the books are starting to lean towards Beneil Dariush.
Yeah. Oliveira's best chance to win this fight is, just being crazy from the opening bell. He needs to lead Dariush into a wild, high-pack fight with wild scrambles on the ground, knockdowns, and exchanges and strikes. That's really how Charles wins fights. He gets people swinging, gets knocked down a few times, and then he lulls them into a submission. That's how Charles wins fights. Dariush, he joins Oliveira as one of the most dominant lightweights with an 8-fight winning streak on his own coming into this weekend. He trains at King's MMA in California. I just really think that it's his time. He's gonna win this fight, and then he's gonna be fighting Islam for that title.
And we mentioned he's no slouch. You just mentioned the streak that he's on. He's number 4 contender in the world. It just might be his time. And Oliveira's coming off an injury. Yeah, I mean, all these little things start to add up, especially with a guy that has about 40 fights under his belt.
For sure,
he's
been here for a while, and he's been really good. Dariush on the other side, 22-4-1 in his professional career, but only has 5 TKOs, Andy, and 8 submissions, bringing in a much more calculated fight plan to Cage compared to his counterpart. Like I said, the craziness that is Charles Oliveira. So if he keeps it on the rails, Dariush is what I'm saying. He's going to win this fight. If he gets a little crazy, that's where Bronx Oliveira can really do damage. Yeah.
How many times have you seen him just pounce and get that submission?
Exactly. And after everybody has already thought the fight was done, he's knocked out. No, if you go after him, he can get you in one of those tricky spots, and that's where Beneil, I think, is going to figure it out and get his hand raised on Saturday.
There we go. Okay, all right. I'm not arguing. All right, so we move on.
Let's do it.
The main event.
Let's do it.
Hailing from Brazil, Amanda Nunes has taken on Irene Aldana. We talked about how Irene's put in a really tough spot here. She's the number 5 contender in the world. No jokes. She's no slouch in this bantamweight class. But, I mean, she's coming in as a plus 265 underdog. Yeah. Nunes minus 320. So just your straight-up odds are not very good value.
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect, like you said, Aldana, who has been on a tear with KO, TKO wins in 3 of her last 4 fights, this one isn't going to be close, Andy.
It's a different animal.
Outside of a close fight with Valentina Shevchenko, which is one of the best fighters in the world, we've only seen Nunes look human once in her whole career, and that was when she lost the belt to Juliana Pena. Nunes has recently dealt with a bout with COVID heading into that fight, and absolutely mauling her in the rematch. So really struck that one from the record, I think. Nunes' well-roundedness is probably what makes her the most dangerous, and that's an issue for Aldana. Just 3 fights ago, she was taken down 5 times and gave up over 5 minutes of control time. And Amanda is drooling at that fact, Andy. When she gets you to the ground, it's night time. So, and when Nunes faces a game striker, she's not shy about leaning on her grappling either. So everybody thinks of her as this big, thing that can knock you out, in which she's going to, but she can still rely on that grappling to get to that point. So as I mentioned, I see the easiest, path to victory for Amanda is her grappling. Yeah. But right now with the odds, I see a KO TKO by Amanda Nunes at a plus 140, Andy.
Ooh, okay.
So that is some value bet in this fight that doesn't have a lot of value to it. Yeah. Amanda is going to knock this chick out. She might get her to the ground and grapple her a little bit, but it's going to end up with a knockout, hammer fist to the head. Amanda gets her arm raised again.
Yeah, I think Aldana coming out of Mexico, I think she got put in a really tough spot. Credit to her for stepping up. And once again, everyone putting it together to keep this card on the mend in Rogers Arena, Vancouver. A lot of Canucks on the card.
No, it's very fun for Canadians.
It's going to be fun, but you do feel like Nunes is going to take care of business in a big way here in your main event.
Exactly. And one more nugget, Andy. Amanda Nunes by submission is at a plus 500 right now. So if you want to throw little bit on that.
All right.
It's at a plus 500, which could easily happen.
Yes, it
I
could.
do see the KO happening more likely. Obviously, that's why the odds are a lot better with the submission. So if you want to go after submission at that plus 500, throw a little bit on that, but I'm going with the knockout.
All righty. How about a parlay play
Yeah.
on UFC 289, JaBron?
Okay, I'm just doing the two-teamer.
Oh, just a two-teamer.
Yep.
Okay.
Nate Landwehr taking that underdog. DraftKings, he's at a plus 215 right now.
Okay.
Amanda Nunes to win by KO at a plus 140. Like I said, the total parlay, putting $25 on it to win 157. You can't beat that value.
Wow.
It's a two-teamer. Like I said, only has to hit twice, and I believe this has a very good chance at hitting.
And you really talked me into Landwehr. I know he's at a plus 200 straight up underdog here, but after kind of walking through it, it looks like he might be going one way, and then he ends going the other way.
No doubt.
And
Gotta
it's
crack
hard,
that top 15.
It's hard to argue a knockout here from Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, it's going to happen. The Lioness is going to knock her out. Just really hope Nate can get it done.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, JaBron.
Thank you.
Well, that'll about do it for us this week on WTL. Be sure to follow us on ESPN Tri-City Radios. We're all over their social media accounts and Twitter. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's been a lot of fun.
Yes, it has been.
The short videos, the feature-length videos, everything under the sun. We've been having a lot of fun. And watching that channel grow, that's been cool as well. Thank you
been a lot of fun
that have subscribed to that and been checking us out there. And also, don't forget to receive our daily free picks over on TikTok. You're holding down the fort over there.
Yeah.
Mr. TikTok King. Parlay Pounder / TikTok King.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the handle.
For JaBron, the Parlay Pounder, I'm Andy Klassen. Thank you for listening. This has been WTL.